Hi guys, welcome back to Let's Talk About It with Courtney. Here I am back in my home office and I'm getting days closer to launching all of this. I'm getting so excited. Sometimes I would say anxious, excited, super nervous, but here I am. We just wrapped up me opening up about my divorce, and as you could tell, I got emotional about it, and that was a lot for me. What I want to take away, and I'm going to keep telling you more stories. Like I said last session, I feel like there's a lot of conversations around love, sex, and divorce, and we will get into the nitty gritty of it all. And I'm excited to do that with you, even if it puts me in a position of being vulnerable. Being vulnerable is one of the least comfortable feelings for myself, and a lot of people, you would probably agree with that yourself. And what I want to step up from the last episode, I was going to go into sex, and of course I will get there. If you don't know already, I'm a couples and sex therapist based here in Washington and in North Carolina. But for those of you new, last time I opened up my divorce, the infidelity, the hardship, and just getting through falling in love, being married for 11 years and having it end. And what's going to come in another chapter is navigating that. Of course, we are going to talk more about the after the separation and the divorce, of course. That sounds like that rhymed. I'm pretty impressed with myself. Divorce, of course. But today I kind of want to pivot a little bit. As I've kind of discussed, I think it was episode 1, introducing myself. And again, you guys, I'm so new at this. Maybe it's not, it might be like a little ping pong. You're like, how do I keep up with her? That's kind of my energy and how my brain works anyway. So I'd say buckle up, get used to it. That's who I am. But I opened up and shared infidelity and hardship and leaving my ex-husband and picking my daughter and myself up and figuring out what was next for us. Life is not always easy. And today I want to talk about that. So let's talk about it. I can tell you that I've gone through some crazy hardships in my life. And frankly, a lot of people would be surprised by that. Mostly because I don't talk about it. Hence why we picked the podcast name that we did. But also because I minimized those experiences for myself throughout the years. But I've also utilized those experiences throughout the years. Without going through hard, big, challenging things, I would not be the woman I am today. I would not be the mom I am today. I would not be the daughter I am, the sister, the aunt, the friend, any role that I play in my life, especially therapist and coach. And there's this book called The Awakened Brain. Dr. Lisa Miller wrote it, and it literally woke up my life. I will totally dive into that a different day. But she has this theory where she talks about every hard challenge, pivot, everything that she thought would break her actually realigned her. And it just blew my mind. Everything I've gone through, I can start early. I want you to know this is my perspective. And I will keep saying that because I coach that. I tell my clients that you have to speak from your own experience and your own perspective, knowing that everyone else has a different experience and a different perspective from maybe even the same event. For example, my siblings and I, we had different experiences, even though we had the same parents, childhoodish, we had different perceptions. And when you think of it that way, I hope you can come in my shoes. And if anyone's heard these stories, or maybe you're my sibling, or maybe you're my friend, you're like, hey, that's not how I felt about it. That's okay. This is my version and my perspective. So I can only speak a place of myself. Growing up, I had a mother that battled drug addiction to the point where she left four kids, and was actually cheating on my dad. And then later had a secret family. And again, we'll get into this a lot later. And I found myself around 11 years old losing my mom, not only to drugs, but a new family. She ended up having another kid, and wouldn't be able to give up drugs. And fortunately, I had a dad that advocated and kept us away from that. But my early years, drug addiction was around my mom. Addiction, not really knowing about food and things, even though I had a dad working his butt off to provide for his kids. I knew what drugs were way earlier than 10. I was exposed to a lot more than kids should or even know what to do with those things. I then later became a stepchild to an incredible stepmom that you'll often hear me refer to as mom. But I also went through blending of family. We had 6 kids come together. And despite my parents' best efforts, that was hard. I cannot even imagine. I have 1 kid. I don't know how people have more sometimes. Not saying that's bad. It's amazing. And that was hard. It was hard sharing my dad. It was hard to learn a new family dynamic. Growing up, if you're a girl, I'm sure it's hard for boys too, so I don't want to generalize gender, but I was picked on a lot in middle school, and that was really hard. Just dating in high school and everything was really difficult. Fast forward, I got married young. I met my ex-husband at 21, and as you guys heard last episode, cheating started coming in pretty early, and I was so used to being abandoned, and I didn't really know what love looked like, and so I just forgave and kept going. And there were moments where I'm like, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? What did this lead me to? And this is when I bring in the Awakened Brain book. And I didn't know I was doing this at the time. But basically, every hardship I went through brought me to a different point in my life. I would call it realignment and getting back on the right path, or my personal path, not the right path, like take that at will. And what I learned is if I didn't go through infidelity, I wouldn't have wanted to work with infidelity as a therapist. If I didn't go through family events such as drug addiction with my mom, losing my mom, blending families, dealing with social and cultural norms with my family that I was going against when getting married, wouldn't have led me into a seat in front of my first therapist. If I didn't get in front of that first therapist, I would not be a therapist today. Healing my inner child, going through some work, that was getting me on the right path. I thought I was going to go to nursing school, started working that way. I just knew I wanted to work with people. And then infidelity hit my world. My husband at the time was an Army Ranger, and cheating was normal. Deployments were normal. Away from each other is normal. There's this cultural thing, and it sucks, but it's alive and well. And we got couples counseling, and things got better. And then I was like, oh, I want to switch to couples work. There's so many couples that I knew, especially back in the day at Ranger Battalion, that gave each other up, or ended marriages, split families up, all because they didn't even attempt to go to couples counseling. And why didn't they attempt? Because there was no voice about therapy. It is so much better in 2025, but it was not in 2013, 2014. I recall real fears from my ex and his friends, if they went to therapy, would they be able to deploy? That's crazy. Mental health was looked at as a bad thing to go get help for instead of a good thing. And so as I was leaving nursing and knowing I wanted to become a therapist, I knew I wanted to be a couples therapist. If I can go through infidelity, recover, become a better version of myself, and acknowledge where I went wrong in my marriage, which of course I did, you guys. Of course there was stuff I did and contributed to the marriage cycle, the negative cycle, if you will. if I didn't go through those things, I would not be a couples therapist. And at first, when I went to grad school, I thought I was going to work with kids and couples and this. And I started working with kids and I met them and there was nothing wrong with them. It was unfortunate. I should step back. Step back. Mostly not wrong with them. I would meet kids from 4 to 13 and it was their environment. And I would actually end up sitting with their parents and doing couples counseling. And I said, I knew I was right. I knew I was supposed to do couples. Fast forward, we moved to North Carolina, my ex and I, deal with more infidelity. Why get licensed there? Finally, it took a year to get licensed. And why did it take a year to get licensed? You know, you had to go through a lot of work there. Again, I thought, woe is me. Why is this happening to me? Why does it take a year to work here? By the time I was able to work, I was ready to work. I was excited. I started working at a Medicaid facility, working with kids. And I just knew it wasn't what I wanted, but I knew I didn't know how to get into couples counseling and specialized, because in North Carolina, you can't do private practice until your associate hours are done. So I knew I needed to become an associate at a facility that specialized. 6 months later, I get to the call to work at Awakenings, a couples and sex therapy practice. I originally looked up sex therapy for my husband and myself at the time because of the cheating and infidelity, and that's how I found Awakenings. Then when that got a little better, we had a baby, I emailed Awakenings, applied, and got a job. Everything happened. Every hardship realigned me back to my path. I was supposed to be a therapist. I was supposed to help people. And as my marriage dissolved over time, of course, you guys know I'm divorced. I used to beat myself up over things like, what do these girls have that I don't? Or if I just lose the weight, or if something changes. I would just remember the darkest times. And slowly, I had clients start going through divorce. I had new clients coming in saying that they need help. And I was able to reference my stories, recovery, and working through and leaving a marriage that I believed in. If I hadn't gone through infidelity and divorce, I would have no business working with it. And I was able to share an experience with my clients and work with them through it, learn from each other. And if you're a client, or you're like everything with therapists, we learn almost just as much from our clients, as at least in my perspective, that you do from us. And when we're in the chair and my client's in tears, not knowing what to do, and I can reference my stories and my experiences, they don't feel alone anymore. And I wasn't feeling alone anymore. I started not just seeing my divorce as heartache and bad memories and how did I get here, though the woe is me, to I think I can do something with this. What if I can help people with divorce? What if I can help people recover after infidelity? Couples too. What if I help single moms and single dads cope through divorce? Help couples co-parent in a way I wish my co-parent would co-parent with me? What if everything I've gone through was to help people who've gone through them? I'm a licensed therapist, literally a licensed marriage and family therapist. I could use this. Did I think I could at the beginning? No. When you're first in it, I had to cancel sessions. I had to tell my couples or all my clients that I was going through a divorce. I would have clients that I'd seen before reach out to me, and I would have to tell them, hey, just so you know, you're working through infidelity. I'm going through a divorce with infidelity. It's up to you if you want to work with me. it changed not only who I am as Courtney Carroll, but it changed who I was as a therapist. In fact, I think it advanced me. It made me like, ooh, like I could do more. It wasn't just trauma. It wasn't just healing. I have real life experience to connect with people. And that's when it like clicked. I was like, there can be good that comes out of this. There's going to be a lot of good that comes out of this. It wasn't just to hurt and go through. It was to then later help people to go through the hard things. And then after my divorce, learning how to date, attempting apps, which I think I said this already, I won't do again. I say that now, watch. We'll see. Okay, keep you posted. I then had to learn how to date after, which was mind-boggling to me. And then all of a sudden, I had clients learning how to date after divorce. And I think I mentioned this earlier, co-parent. How do you co-parent with someone? I had real live good and bad experiences with co-parenting. I had experiences of me immediately trying to shove all the stuff away to just co-parent. And my ex was not ready for that. At least in my experience and from what I recall him telling me, he didn't know how to have a parenting relationship with me outside of just like the basics. And we can always go there another day today. But I also could sit with clients now that are going through that. And in both perspectives, I can offer the client that's more on the edge of where my ex was, like not sure how to navigate those waters and maybe just cut off everything besides trading the kid. And I can share my experience in that, how awful that was for me. And for the parent that needs more boundaries, I can experience that too. And I can learn with them, I can adjust with them. But again, I would not be able to help this if I hadn't had personal experience. And as I reflect back, everything I've gone through has helped me become a better therapist and now coach. And that's what I'm here to talk about mostly today is I'm expanding my business to coaching. I'm a licensed therapist in Washington State. Well, sorry, soon to be licensed therapist in Washington State. I am pending. I have reciprocity here and I'm just waiting for it to go through, but I am fully licensed in North Carolina. And what's the difference between like therapy and coaching is therapy is going to be more private, HIPAA, all the things, and you have to be in the state that I am licensed in. I can be anywhere. So if you're in North Carolina, I can be in Washington. If you're in Washington, once I get my license fully approved, I can be in Alaska. But you have to be in those states, which kind of really creates some restraints in being able to help clients outside of travel, life, adventure, all the things. And as I started helping my friends go through what I was going through, divorce, co-parenting, losing a parent, and sharing my shared experience, helping therapists go through trainings and experiences on how they navigate being the therapist in the room. And I would say about a year ago, I know it took me a whole year to get here, I was like, I think I need to expand. I'm going to forever keep Waymark counseling. I love being a therapist, but I want to branch out and basically use all my life experience, become a life coach. I kind of call it like a soul-centered coaching because as I was talking about that book I was referencing earlier, I really want to work with individuals that can revisit those negative experiences. Not all of them, but what did that do for you? Because to me, if I didn't have a drug addict mom, I wouldn't really understand drug addiction in my experience, let alone being a kid in drug addiction. A blended family, I wouldn't have that lived experience to help others with blended families. Divorce, getting married young, all these experiences, becoming parents, co-parenting, and I keep relisting things I've already kind of talked about today. But what if I can help more people. Hence the podcast. That's why I'm doing it. Especially when there's people that just can't afford coaching and therapy. It's expensive, and insurance is really hard to work with. So as I share with you the launch of my coaching business, I'm excited. I plan to use every challenge, every no, every hardship, every breaking point to remind those of you out there, they did not define me, they did not break me, they led me here. I'm a better therapist, a better coach, a better person because of my hardships. They did not ruin me again. They did not change my heart. The one weird compliment I get after going through divorce, and I recently broke off an engagement a few months ago, to just my life and life experience. I'm surprised your heart is still as good as it is. That you're not closed off. That you use this experience to actually smile and talk and understand more people. And first I was like, what is that? Is that a compliment? Is that a compliment? And it is. I've done years of therapy. I've been a therapist, a long time. And if I didn't learn along the way to use the challenges as pivots to realign my path back to where I'm supposed to be, I would be in despair all the time. I'd most likely be facing major depression, definitely anxiety up the wazoo. And I understand why people live there. I understand why people can't move on. It is hard. I have to actively choose to move on every day. I have to actively choose to not go back and relive and stay. That's the difference. You can go back and visit and share, hence why I did the last podcast. But I do not live in that sadness. I'm grateful for it. Weird, I know. I am grateful that my ex-husband cheated on me again and again, to the point where I said no more. I am. He is probably my greatest teacher that I've had this far. I am grateful for my biological mom facing drug addiction, knowing parts of her story and how she never healed from a lot of trauma to she went to drugs and alcohol instead. I'm grateful for her story, because even though she has hurt me and my siblings, I can't really speak for them, but I think I can say that, and abandoned us, I'm grateful for that because I learned what not to do. I also learned drugs aren't for me really early on. I was terrified of them because I saw what they could do. I'm also grateful I sit and help clients that had drug addict parents that are contemplating and struggling with negative coping skills with alcohol and drugs now. I am so grateful that I have that life experience to help others that are going through it. I'm grateful. I am grateful for every struggle I've gone through. And I'm so thankful that there are therapists, coaches, and teachers out in the world that remind us that this isn't the end. There was no way when I got divorced that my story was ending. My daughter, I think she's 2, barely 3. There was no, 2. Barely 2. There was no way. I was disappearing into sorrow and staying in my couch or picking up an addiction or anything. That girl needed me. And that's also what my mom taught me. I knew not to abandon her. I knew to work through it. I knew not to skip therapy, even though I wanted to. I had no choice, and I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful I learned how to co-parent as best as I can. And I will go into co-parenting probably several episodes. And my biggest teaser for that is we can't expect our co-parent to be the co-parent we are or want them to be. And that took me, I would say, probably until 3 months, 4 months ago to really grasp and anchor into my body that I am not responsible for him and how he co-parents. And just because he does something one way doesn't mean I get to do it. Because I will 90% always do what I would want, even if that means my co-parent doesn't, because that's my role and model as Hazel's mom. And I can only hope and wish for better for my co-parent, and I hope you do too. But you also do not need to lower what you would do because they are. And I want to be able to speak to this. If you're hearing this and this is like latching on and you're like, Courtney, how did you know? I wouldn't know if I didn't go through divorce. I wouldn't. And that's what makes my heart still here. I actually shared this quote yesterday, or it was like an Instagram reel or something. And a lot of the time we hear hurt people hurt people. No. As a therapist, as a coach, that's not true. Do hurt people hurt people? Yes. Do angry people get angry with people? Yes. Do happy people create other happiness? Yes. But hurt people, like myself and so many of my clients, go inward and ask, what do I do with this? That hardship, what did I need to learn? Was there a lesson? That's hard to do when you're in it, trust me. Why did I need to go through infidelity? Personally, I'll tell you for myself, I needed to learn to choose myself. I needed to learn to stop self-abandoning myself to be selfless to everyone else. Instead of hurting people because I was hurt. And I am not innocent. I was hurt in divorce, and my ex-husband probably dealt with stuff. And again, I actively work on it. But I don't go to hurt him or his now partner or anyone else. I go to therapy. I get to work. I help people through these things. Hurt people love people. Hurt people heal. Hurt people want to help other people heal or use their experience. So many therapists, if you're out there as a therapist or a coach, chances are life wasn't always easy. I mean, I don't think it is for anyone, but most therapists, and I can speak about my cohort, hopefully they're okay with it, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. And along the way, they wanted to become someone that would have helped them. And that is my true lived experience as a individual human. I'm a human that has gone through tremendous hardships. And instead of using it to weaponize or to hurt people or to go after someone, I try to harness in and go, what do I want to do with this? What do you want to do with this hurt? I don't know if it's the easiest. The easiest thing is to hurt someone back, maybe. I don't know. But the reality is, you don't want to hurt. I didn't want to be miserable. Just because I'm divorced doesn't mean I don't want to be married again. I loved being a wife. I love being a mom. I love working with people wanting to better themselves, that can look inward and say, how can I do something with this? If I learned this hard lesson, if I had gone through this great, tremendous loss, what can I do with it? What did God, the universe, fill in the dot? What did they call me to do with this? And that's when it changes. I am meant to work with people like yourself, even if it's just listening to this and saying, you're not alone. And what if we made some of the hardest days redirect you to the best of your days? I never knew that my experience of being cheated on and being called names or body image issues, that I could sit with a client and say, I have this shared experience. You're not alone. What do you want to do with it? Do you want to stay in a relationship that attacks you about your body and your image? Or truly disrespects your body by sleeping with other people? Do you want to allow those to ruin you as well? Because not only you got cheated on, you got lied to, you're betrayed, but you get to be destroyed? Heck no. So if this resonates with you, we are just getting started with this podcast. Again, I'm so new at this, you guys. I'm here to talk about all hard things. This is us talking about my coaching business, why it's here. I want to work with you without the restrictions of laws and codes to keep me outside of states and regions. I want to work with you to realign, use your experiences, and get on the right path. And instead of saying, I can't move on, this is torture, what can we do with it? And even if you don't work with me, do you have a local therapist you can work with? Is there another friend going through the same thing? Maybe there's a support group you can do. Later on, I will be providing groups and having topics, probably monthly, once a month, where you can join in and we can talk about something specific where you're not alone in it. Life is hard, but it can be sweet. It can harden you or soften you. And that is not a weakness. To not lose your beautiful, golden, bright heart just because you've been hurt. I hope if this resonates with you, you feel seen, heard, and by no means am I telling you to not sit in the grief of it. I sat in it. Don't avoid sitting in it. The beginning, you have to sit in it. You have to be sad, you have to be heartbroken, and you get to be mad about any life experience. You get to have, it's like the grief work. You have to grieve it. But once you work through the stages, the 5 stages, what do you want to do with it? What do you want to do with it? Because chances are there's someone out there going through something and they're thinking, what can I do? I must be alone. There's so many people out there, including myself and my friends and my clients, that always just want connection. So if you're out there and this resonates with you, I hope you like it, you share it, you maybe share it with a friend, and you start looking, maybe you look up at that book, The Awakened Brain. Gosh, she's great. I hope it lights your heart on fire. And I hope it guides you back to yourself, guides you back to where you want to be. And if you need any help through it, please reach out. And I'm so grateful that you joined me today, and let's talk about it. Until next time, bye friends.